Hey, everybody. Great to see so many familiar faces. Thanks for coming out. Just got off the practice field, so a little casual, but we can make do with this. Great to see all your faces. Football season's right around the corner, 10 days away from kickoff. Really excited. Really like this football team. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so, I did enough in my opening presser at the Big Ten Media Day. What was the time? 10:40, 10:50? Not bad. Some of the false reports out there is 14:50 is inaccurate. It was 10:40, I think. Not to say anybody in here did that, just saying, heard some rumors. So we'll get to questions. How's that? Good to see everybody.
On Tuesday, you talked about Thursday maybe being a scrimmage for some evaluations. How did that go? What'd you see?
Yeah, it went great. We've done a few things. We've had another scrimmage. We've had a mock game where we go through all special teams situations, do it under the lights. We were going to have one in the stadium on Thursday, but weather made us come inside. But we did the same type of thing. I love this football team. I love the depth of this football team. I love the competition of this football team. We have more competition this year in 2024 than we've had since I've been the head coach here at Minnesota. And that's a credit to our staff, our recruiting, the players, the way they've kind of taken on this whole year. So hopefully I answered your question. We got a lot of questions answered. But it's not about just answering questions. Okay, you're number one. We have a lot of different starters. We do. We have a lot of guys that are going to be splitting time, so they're both starters. And so I think that's what's really healthy about this football team as we keep going forward.
What positions could you see splitting time as a possibility?
I think when you look at defensive line, I think there's going to be rotations that continue to happen just like that normally is. We just have more people that are going to be rotating, which is good for our D-line. Offensive line, you can see at some positions we're going to be doing that as well. Wide receiver, we're going to be rolling some people in. Tight end, you're going to be rolling some people in. You want to be able to do it. We have so many different packages on defense too, so it's hard to sit there and go, hey, here's the 11 guys. I mean, from our nickel package to our dime package to all these other packages that we have, as we talked earlier about the personnel that our defense has, I think that helps as we continue to go into game one. I'm not going to tell you all those different packages, but it's really fun to be able to plug and play based on what these guys can do and put different combinations on the field, whether it's first and second down or third down.
Development. Have you noticed from the corner room throughout camp?
Yeah, tremendous growth. I was just having a discussion with one of our coaches about that. You have Wally and you have Ethan. Both those guys played a ton of football. But when you start to look at like Zaquan Bryant's development, you're really pleased with what he's been able to do, especially for such a young kid. He got a chance to play in the bowl game, but that has helped him exponentially get to where he is right now. We've got a lot of other guys in that mix at that corner position. Ryan Kelly's had a really good camp. He's big, long, strong. He's gained a bunch of weight. And then we've got a bunch of guys that can play a lot of different positions, whether they slide down inside, stay outside. That's a pretty deep room, and they're aggressive. Like they've done a really good job of getting better. I think Coach Monroe's done a great job coaching them. Got to keep getting better, but I like where we are there. And you mix that with the safeties and then the nickels, you start to look at there's more guys that are going to be playing in the secondary than we've had in the past.
BJ, new era of college football with transfer portal, name, image, likeness, revenue sharing, looks like coming down the pike, expansion of the
Salary cap.
expansion of the Big Ten, expansion of the college football playoff. What do you think is what's the ceiling as you look at it for this program now in this new era? A lot of changes.
Dave, I love the question. I think it's a little bit. We're 10 days from game day. I think that's a little more for a few weeks ago and maybe the offseason. But I do think the changes of college football are really healthy for where we're going. It's really positive for the student athlete. It's positive for the universities, as you can see financially. But when you start to look at what it's going to do for the change of college football, we don't necessarily know what that's going to look like. We're not there yet. Nobody's there yet. That's the future. I think with the new college football expansion, I think that makes people really excited, especially at the University of Minnesota. As I said at Big Ten Media Day, I think when you had 4 teams in the college football playoff, you could probably name 2 or 3 that were going to make it from the start of the season, and they were probably in there at the end. And maybe there was 1 or 2 that maybe some people had on the fringe, or maybe there was one shock. I think as you go through this, and if it's 12 teams, which it is in the college football playoff, that leaves the window open for a lot of teams to get in there from different conferences. And I think that's exciting for the fans. It's exciting for college football and the growth of our sport and the health of our sport as we keep moving forward. One thing I've always loved about college football is it constantly changes. There's one thing that changes is it always changes. And I think that's what makes it really exciting. Not just rules, but how it's all done. Not just like on the field. This year we're going to talk about, the drop tackle, and that's fine. Those are all good changes. But I'm talking about huge changes that change the dynamics of what college football look like in the future based on what was in the past. Words like scholarship, walk-on, whatever our definitions were prior to that, and our vision of that was, those are all changing of what that word actually means. It has a lot of different meanings now. Walk-on has a lot of different meanings now. 105 puts people on this parity, not equal playing field, because with NIL still being in play, but when you start talking salary cap and you start talking those types of things, it definitely creates a little bit, I think, more parity, where I think every fan base is going to sit there and go, okay, hey, listen, we got a great opportunity here. If we invest in X, Y, and Z, we have just as good a shot as a lot of other teams. So that's what's really exciting as we go forward. And I think I've said that publicly at Big Ten Media Day, that I think it's really healthy, especially for Minnesota, with the changes of college football.
When you went looking for a quarterback and you got Max, how involved did you think FCS level would be in that search?
I'm sorry, Randy, you mean?
Getting somebody from the FCS level, was that something you were looking at all along? Or?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't necessarily we needed somebody just from FCS. I mean, it wasn't FCS or bust. It was the best available player, and we needed somebody to come in here that understood the situation. There was pressure of the situation right from the start. We had to find the right fit for what we were looking for. And if you think back to it, Randy, we didn't bring in 4 quarterbacks with all this NIL money and stuff like that and say, okay, you guys all compete and let's go. We had to bring in somebody who was going to be able to lead the team the minute they got here, was going to be able to do okay without maybe without the most competition threatening them, was going to have to do okay with maybe not competition threatening them, knowing that they're the guy, to handle that responsibility in a very mature way and in a leadership way, and go out there and perform at the highest level. Because the option after that for us was, okay, a true freshman and bringing in another guy that we're going to develop. So when you're looking at it, you had to be right. So, every decision you make, you want to be right, and you're feeling you have to be right. But this one, we had to get right. And Max has just exceeded all of our expectations. He's got to go out there and prove it and play on game day and do what he does every single day. The only thing Max Brosmer has to do is be the best version of Max Brosmer every day. And that's what he's capable of doing, and that's what he'll do. And we have the most confidence in him. He's had a great 6 months. He's an amazing human being, and he's made this program better. He's made the people around him better. He's made our culture better. He's made University of Minnesota better, and I'm really proud of him for that. And it's going to be fun to be able to watch him here in 10 days.
How's Darius Taylor doing right now, and how do you feel about the running back depth?
Yeah, he's doing great. We brought in a ton of players for that reason. In general, if anybody ever gets banged up, we got a few bumps and bruises, but I'm going to use the same line as we get in 10 days before game day. I mean, the injury report will come out, 2 hours before kickoff. But this is a very healthy football team, and I love how they've gone about their business throughout training camp. I thought we structured it to benefit them, which we always do, but you learn from your past to create your future on certain things. We listened to a lot of the science and data and applied our whole training camp schedule accordingly. But I really like the depth of the room, from the top with Darius all the way down. And we brought in a lot of guys for that position, a lot of guys who have played big-time college football. And then some other guys that have been young have really come on strong. So it's going to be fun to see how that all plays out, and as you guys continue to compete within the season. But feel really good about where we're at 10 days out.
What do you think you know about North Carolina in 2024?
Yeah, we just started them yesterday with game planning and looking at them and starting to work with our coaching staff and dedicating a lot of hours towards that in between our players and training camp. First of all, I got a lot of respect for Mac Brown. A lot of you, I think it's well documented, the relationship him and I have, and he's always been really, really good to me. He's been a sneaky mentor, because I get him at the most opportune times, and he's always been really, really good to me. They're really talented. They got 8 returning starters on defense, and they added a bunch of transfers that do start other places in the ACC or other places. They're deep. I think it's well documented. I think the AP All-American team came out, and one of the running backs, Hampton. He's really, really good. And we played against him last year. They've got a stable of running backs. They always do. They've got really good receivers. I think everybody's talking about, well, Drake May's not there, but they reloaded. They didn't rebuild. They reloaded with the guys that they have. Now, I know they're not naming a starter, and we expect to see 2 or 3 of them, and we'll prepare that way. But they all can run. They all can throw. They've all played college football at a high level. So, but they're talented. I mean, they're a North Carolina team, ACC team, and Mac Brown coach team. And a lot of the guys are very familiar with what we saw last year when we went out to Chapel Hill. So we got to play our best football. We know that. We're preparing to, working hard really every day, 10 days out. Right now, still working a lot of Minnesota versus Minnesota, and as the days go on, we'll transfer that into more North Carolina.
How do you feel the defense has responded to Corey Hetherman?
I think it's been great. You really hope that the first 6 months of that really gel. I mean, it's one thing if things don't gel, and then you're all right. We got to get through the season. We got to do this. We got to manufacture certain things. There's no manufacturing with him. He is one of the most authentic, genuine, real football coaches I've ever been around. And I've told you a few stories of why that is, but he loves football. He's a really good football coach. The players love playing for him. And you can see that in how they practice. You've been out there, how they play, the energy they bring. We talked about 3 things that we needed to bring as a defense, that excitement level every single day. And it's been there unmatched every day. The swarming, I mean, we're swarming more and better than we ever have to the ball. And then you have to bring that on-the-field violence, that contact, that willingness to be really physical. And that's a mental piece. And we've demanded that every day from them, and our players have responded in the right way. And I just think they love playing for them. I'm still old school when it comes down to there's all these things, Dave, you mentioned, the new college football and why people play. It could be for a lot of external-driven things. It could be for money. It could be for power. It could be for ego. It could be for draft stock. It could be for all these things. I'm still old school where, when I played for people. I played for people. And I played for my university. And I feel like this team has a little bit of that old school feel to it. We have all the new changes of college football like everybody else does. But for each other, this team is better than I've had in the past. And not saying we didn't, it just has exceeded that. I really love where they're at, and I think they're playing for them. I think they're playing for our staff. I think they're playing for each other, player to player, coach to player, player to coach. It's very refreshing. They're a fun team to coach, and that's why I say when they're fun to coach, that's what I mean. They really do it for someone else, and not only just themselves, but that's not the number one thing showing right now.
Buzzwords for Corey Hetherman's defense. How much does blitzing come in? Obviously, he was aggressive when he was a DC before. How much does that factor in how you guys scheme up?
I mean, it's a piece of it, but it's not like we're doing more than we did last year. I think the difference in the defense is it's very similar to what we've had. Remember, we weren't going off the tracks and going off the rails here and going outside of the family of what we really want as a defense and what we core believe in. But it's his own personality, and then it's our personnel. Our personnel allow us to do certain things that we did last year and get a chance to even do them better, or do certain things that we're doing now that maybe we couldn't do last year with the personnel that we have. But it's not just that. But I think those 3 buzzwords that we used, the ESV, is what we're doing every single day. And whether that's base, whether that's just normal cover 2, whether that, whatever it is, that's I feel like that's the difference in this year from last year.
Will you describe maybe 4 or 5 deep with the running backs, but a little glimpse into their style and what they're like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Darius has grown up a lot in the offseason, and he's really, Darius played high school wideout at times too, and then he was a running back, and he did a lot of things. So he's brought that full playmaker ability to our offense. And the pass game, in the run game, we brought in Marcus Majors, who played a ton of football at Oklahoma. Every time I see that number 24, I just think, man, he looks like 24, just bigger. Just a bigger version of the old 24 with Muhammad. And Muhammad stopped by a few practices, which has been really cool to see him. But Marcus is, again, another guy who's exceeded my expectations. I mean, he can run in between the tackles really well. He can get thin real fast, and he can play behind his pads really well, anticipates blocks. I think that's huge for a running back. Can you see the whole scheme and how it's working? Then, okay, here's just my read. Then I go to the next read. I mean, you can tell people who are a little robotic. He is not that. It naturally happens. He can see blocks before they happen. He can see it on the next level. It makes people miss in the hole. And, JoJo Newbin's played a ton of football for us. He was moved from safety to running back a few years back, and he's played a ton of football for us. And then we have a few guys that we brought in. Feme Ijiboy has been great as a true freshman. He's had a great training camp. Brought in Jaron Magnum, who's kind of been a journeyman, different spots, and we're really glad he's here. He's really matured and developed. Big back, plays behind his pads. He's got better feet and more speed than I think people give him credit for. And then C.A. Bengura, who was the freshman player of the year in the MAC and 2 years ago. And, he's a young back, but he's got good size. He's just got to continue to bend, and he's getting better with every day. And that's what I mean about our running back room. Derek LeCaptain played running back when we moved him, from linebacker to there. JoJo Newbin came from safety. We knew we had to emphasize the running back position, and the competition's been really good. And I thought Darius done a really good job with Marcus of leading that room, especially in practice.
PJ, what's the biggest benefit of having your first 4 games at home?
Well, I think, you got 12 games. They're all equally important. I don't look at it as just home and away. I think to win at a high level, you got to win on the road, and you have to win at home. When you look at somebody that's going to go play in the college football playoff, you can't be like, oh, we got this many home games, and, oh, boy, we got to go on the road. People are they're talking about you better be 10, 11 wins to get into the college football playoff. And that means you got to win all your games, no matter where they are. If they're in a parking lot, you better win them. So I just love playing in front of our fans. I think we create one of the more underrated environments in college football. I really do. I love our fans. I love our student body. We got a gold out coming up in 10 days, which the last gold out we had, which you all saw that to open the season at Nebraska, was a pretty special environment. And I love people for that here in our state. I love our fans for that. Again, I think they deserve a lot of credit because they create an atmosphere that I feel that is a little underrated at times, playing in Huntington Bank Stadium. And it's fun. Our players thrive off that. They feed off that energy. And it's like anything. You feed off that energy at home, and then you play that underdog role when you go on the road, like nobody likes you. So the sounds you're using an advantage on one side, and then you go somewhere else and using that sounds to pump up your team on the other side. And it's kind of that all for one for all type mentality. But love playing at Huntington Bank and can't wait for 10 days from now.
Do 2 more for Coach. PJ, when you look at the offense, do you look at a position group that's maybe you're looking to see a little bit more out of? Wide receiver comes to mind. Is there something that you need to see from a position group that needs to get to the level of everyone else?
I know what you're asking, Andy, and I think, and I respect your question, and I'm not dodging it, but I think that as well as I do, to have an efficient offense, here at the University of Minnesota, everybody has to be involved. Even when we had Bateman, we were the best when he had Tyler Johnson, and you had Keefton, catching balls and a really good running game. Every position has to do their job to the best of their ability and meet the expectation that's created for them within the program. And, when that's the hardest part for whether it's media, fans, coaches, when you have an expectation of something and somebody, because those somebodies fit inside something, right? And that something's a scheme. So you have this expectation, and then they show you what they can and cannot do. Well, that's the expectation. And then there's a thing called reality. And you're doing everything you can as a coach to make sure the expectation and the reality actually match. And if they match, we're in good shape. It's when the expectation and reality aren't there where the frustration comes into play. And the more they're apart, that space gets bigger. And most of the time, that's what negativity's filled with. I expected this, I didn't get this. We're still waiting to move into our house. Call me frustrated. Heather's right there moving right now. We're moving in today. This is June 1, July 1, August 1. Now it's August 19th, and she's moving in. I told her a year ago I'd help. Well, I can't help that it's August 19th, and our driveway's just being poured today, guys. How can you move in? The movers show up the same time the concrete guys show. I don't understand that. So, pardon the expectation not meeting reality. Call me crazy. Actually, they don't have to worry about me. The Italian-Irish woman's at home. So, who's got a huge heart? She got them all lunch today. Every single person there. Bought them all lunch. Very nice of her.
Coach, how's the special teams operation come together with a new long snapper in there?
You know what? With Ryan and Allen, I'll be honest. I haven't noticed. And I think Brady Weeks said it best. He'd stand up at different events and My name is Brady Weeks. It's the last time I ever want you to hear my name. And he sat down. And that was Brady Weeks. He was so valuable. The two guys we have, same type of thing. I feel really good about where we are there. They got to continue to challenge each other daily, which I know they will. And we feel we got two really good ones there. So I know that our specialists feel the same way, and we support them every way we can and keep coaching them up. We got it. Row the boat, Sky and Go Gophers. We're supposed to have this in our house today to treat all of you. And sorry, it's not done.
What's going on, guys?
Fair for a new defensive coordinator when you really don't have a lot of tape on how he's going to use his new personnel?
It can be a challenge. You go off based off what he's done in the past, when he was defense coordinator, when he was a head coach. You look at, I think the last, 2 places at Georgia Tech, and at Temple, he was, he's an aggressive guy by nature. So you look at all that, that's what you kind of get from his philosophy. And then schematically, we have to be prepared for a lot of things. You just look at all the big picture piece of, what he's doing defensively and try to piece it together and figure out what he's going to do with that personnel. He's got good personnel, Power Eccles and K'Mon Rucker. They're very good. Amari Campbell's a good linebacker too. So they do a good job, and I'm sure with their personnel, with their secondary, they'll be aggressive. They'll play man coverage, things like that.
Touched on the aggressive nature, and
Yeah.
it's pretty exotic defensively, bringing pressure from different spots. So how important is pre-snap identification and communication in this game?
It's everything. It's one of Max's strengths is. He's worked very hard at that throughout the spring, throughout the summer, and then through training camp. He's done an exceptional job at that, but it's going to be, going back to a 100 level. What's the first thing he's got to look at? Whether it's boundary safety, field safety, maybe it's front, things along those lines. Like those things are going to be critical in this game.
You talked this spring about putting Max in the best position to be successful. How have you tried to do that? We've seen a little bit in camp with short and intermediate throws in particular.
I'm very confident in Max. I throughout the spring, and I've had this conversation before with him, and I knew it would be a transition process, and he's exceeded my expectations with how he's handled the transition, and he's done a phenomenal job of taking each experience he's learned in spring ball, training camp, throughout the summer, and putting that to good use now. Like he's rolling. He's really in a good state mentally, which I'm really excited about. And now, in the spring, like I've said this before, is like his superpower is his leadership ability and how he can get people to come with him. That's what he's probably best at. Not mentioning anything he does football wise, but now he mastered the offense. Now he's not thinking about the play during the snap or pre-snap. Now he's able to play the game, play quarterback, and lead the team, which is you're really seeing him shine in that aspect now.
Coach, is there kind of an evident depth chart at the quarterback position right now behind Max?
Coach Fleck handles all those depth chart questions, but Max has had a great camp.
Level of preparation, how have you kind of seen him exceed kind of an understanding of what he needs to do? And I think there was a story at Big Ten Media Days about him chatting with Callie about protection and those kinds of things.
He understands. He understands what we're attempting to do at a high level. We talked about throwing into windows and understanding that the windows they're the same size, where what he's coming from. But what we talked about actually like a couple weeks ago is they close faster. And in the spring, that's the thing that he really had to focus on. He would put the ball in the right spot. The ball would go to the right place. The ball was never really in harm's way. It was that he was changing the trajectory or the pace of the ball based off of the window because he was giving the defense too much credit at times, where he was processing the information, but then he was attempting to throw the ball too hard. That's probably the best way to put it. Now what we worked on big time over the summer was, okay, the window's this. It's going to close fast because the level of athlete is different and it's better, and now you just have to throw it into that window, change the trajectory, go back to your normal trajectory. You're processing the information well, and that's one thing we worked on hard. And that was a lot of just watching film and him seeing the window there and then seeing the trajectory of the ball and then maybe looking at like, all right, what would he have done at New Hampshire? And then, okay, the ball can be thrown the same way. You're processing it the same way, and that's one thing that him and I worked really hard on in the summer.
What are your expectations for Marcus Major and Christian Driver?
Marcus is I was talking to him this morning when we were at our team stretch, and I'm just proud of him, because you never, when you bring transfers in, we've talked about this before. It's like you have that quick relationship that you build throughout the recruiting process, and then you really work on developing the relationship once they get here. And he's come in and he's just worked, and you're seeing his true leadership ability, because I would say he's a leader. He's a great teammate. I sent him a picture. It was one of our inter-squad scrimmages where Elijah scored, and everybody goes down to celebrate, and he's the first. He's not in on the play, and he's the first one down there to celebrate with Elijah. My expectation for him is that he's going to contribute. He's going to help us. I love it. I love his feet. I love his power, his vision. But most importantly, like, he fits in with that Max category of, like, he leads, and he leads by example. But I have a feeling, because I'm not in there all the time, but I have a feeling that Coach McKissick-Luke relies on him from a vocal standpoint too, because he's a guy, and we're counting on him. And then with Christian, Drive has done an excellent job all training camp. I love his, he has elite burst, elite speed, and he's just continued to learn and continue to take Coach Simon's coaching and get better every day. And, he's really taken that approach throughout the whole training camp. And I don't want to say that, like, these guys exceed my expectations, because the expectation's already so high. I don't know if they're ever going to exceed it. But they work very hard every single day.
When you were looking for a quarterback in the portal,
Yep.
to get Max, did you figure that you might end up looking at the FCS level, just with guys with more experience?
I was looking for the at that point in time, we were looking for depth, looking for the best player, and at that point, so then obviously we had the guys get into the portal, shortly after that, and then it changed where we got to find the best guy, and Max, from the first time I watched his tape and the first time I talked with him, I'm big on him recruiting. Like, I find a guy that I like, I find a guy that we like, and we go after him. And he fit what we needed at the time. And, I couldn't be, happier with just the personal relationship I have with him. He's up there right now. I mean, this morning I walk in at, whatever hour that is, he's sitting right there. I mean, that's who he is. And like, it's just a unique relationship. That's what I'll say. Like, I've never had a relationship with a player like him where we can have this dialogue. We're sitting there in the quarterback meetings this morning before practice, going through, what we're working on that day. Might be something with North Carolina. And he's like, hey, we could do this, we could do that. He challenges me, which I love. But it's fun. It's fun coaching him.
How's the helmet communication been going, and how do you sort of make that new rule
It's
to your
fun.
advantage?
It's fun. It's fun with Max. It's fun with Drake and Dylan too, because you're able to just you're not like everyone thinks like you're using like it's like a conversation. It's not a conversation. You don't want to put the quarterback in a position where he's thinking too much. It might be a little reminder. Hey, keep your eyes here post snap. This is your tell. Hey, this is a high tendency on third down. Stuff like that. And it's just fun because I think like the cool thing with the quarterbacks right now is they generally, like, if they make a mistake, they don't make it twice. And it's fun. It's fun to coach guys like that they make that mistake, whether it's Max all the way down to the last guy. And they do a good job of just taking that, seeing the mistake on the field and then seeing it in the film room, not doing it again.
Outside of Daniel Jackson, who's in that top tier, earned your trust to go to on third down for a pass catch?
I trust everybody. Like, if they're out there, they have a job to do, and they have to make the play and catch the football. Jamison Gears has really come on. Obviously Darius, I really love Darius. But, like, those guys have really come on. But I'm expecting, if you're out there, if it's Elijah Spencer, if it's Lemecki, if it's Christian Driver, like, they're going to make the play. And, you know, I'm expecting them to, you know, we are as an offensive staff.
Andy mentioned third down. It was, I think, 52% conversion 2 years ago
Yep.
and 35-ish, I think,
Yep.
last year. What's the key to getting that back up to 52%?
I would say number one, being efficient on early downs, getting into a situation where you're in third and manageable, and then we talk about it in the quarterback room. That's where you're elite. You're elite at quarterback, you're elite in third down, and you're elite in the green zone. And you know that's where I'm relying on the quarterback. You know, it might be 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, and we're going to drop back. Everybody in the country does, and you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to play. You have to be able to manage the protections. You know, that's where it's going to come down to. But it all comes down to, if you're looking at it from a global perspective, offensively, it's going to come down to how good we are on first and second down. We've talked about that at length. You know, I think it was an NFL team. I think it was when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl. They were one of the lower third down conversion teams in the NFL, but they went to the Super Bowl. Well, they were one of the best first and second down teams. You know, and so I think being successful on early downs is going to be key for us.
Does this one mean a little bit more being a North Carolina native? Or did you grow up a Duke fan instead?
My dad obviously played at East Carolina. You know, my mom went there. My older sister went there. My little sister went to North Carolina. You know, I grew up an East Carolina fan, so it is cool to play against them. But at the end of the day, I haven't thought about that one point because my main focus is making sure the offense is ready to go. You know, I'm very excited to see what we can do. I'm very excited to see Max. You know, I'm more excited if I'm just talking about the quarterbacks. Like I'm very excited for Max. You know, because he's worked extremely hard. You know, all the way back into high school. You know, because I don't know if when I was at Chattanooga, you know, we recruited Max. And, you know, Max was, you know, one of the quarterbacks that was on our board when I was a receiver coach at Chattanooga. And I knew of Max. And then obviously the rest is history from here. You know, so it's cool to see how much he's changed. You put on his huddle tape, see how much he's changed. I'm just excited for him, you know, to have that moment for himself because it's fun for him. But I'm excited. I'm excited to open up with a great opponent. North Carolina is going to be really, really good. And we're really excited to take them on.
What's your evaluation of Drake so far?
Drake from January on, you know, I think I sat him down and, you know, when I think it was right before he signed, we talked about, you know, we had to bring in a transfer at that time. And, you know, we were talking about Max. And I explained to him, like, this is going to be a really big thing for you, to learn from him and for Max to take him under his wing. And Drake has done that. I mean, if you saw him in the spring, he was running the 2 offense as a true freshman, and he should be a senior in high school. And he's done a great job of, as soon as he got in January, learning the offense, understanding the offense, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes. He's a natural thrower of the football. Again, it talks about a unique relationship. I tell him all the time, like, you know, I love him. I love his family, and it's cool. It's cool to be able to coach those guys, because when I go into the room every day, like, we have moments. Say we have an hour meeting, we might have moments of, it might be 30 minutes extremely serious, and then it might be another 10 where we're sharing a story about something. Then we're back at it. Like, it's cool to have that relationship with those guys.
Somebody that's gone against Corey Hetherman's defense for weeks now, what have you learned about the way he approaches things and how he does it?
He's aggressive. You know, I like what we're doing on defense. You know, I think it's really fun to go against him every day because you're going to get something different. There's one thing, like in training camp and spring ball, sometimes, you know, the quarterback can get used to seeing the same picture all the time. Well, he's done a good job of changing that picture and making it challenging on us offensively and the quarterbacks. You know, so it's fun to go against them every single day. They get after it. They obviously play very hard. You know, that comes down from Coach Fleck. You know, that's the standard that we have. We're going to play with the how. We're going to play really hard. So they do that.
When we talked with Max recently, he mentioned how much he likes to play chess to help with quick decision making.
Yep.
How have you seen that aspect play out on the field?
So it really comes into play because chess, like I played him in chess and it didn't go well for me. He's played a couple guys. It doesn't go well for them either. But he looks at chess as, so like if you get one reaction from the secondary, you have to understand without looking at it what's happening on the other side of the field or what the underneath defender's doing. He looks at chess that way. You have to be ahead on the next move. It's funny. I walked into the team meeting the other day. He's playing tic-tac-toe with Quinn Carroll. And he's like the third move. He's like, I'm gonna win, and then he wins. He's always like that. He's always thinking. He's a unique guy. And so it's fun. It's fun to be around him. But it was funny. It's funny like just to play him in chess because I think the second game I played him, he purposely lost his queen, and then he was like, I'm gonna beat you without the queen. Then he beat me. So it's fun.
Does that translate then to football where he can understand I'm handing off here?
Yeah.
Which maybe 2 plays from now sets up
Exactly.
something
So
else.
like if we're in the run game, we have a run play called. He's looking like I don't have to say to him, all right, look at this because we have this off of this, and he knows. And right when after that play, I've gone through periods in practice with him when I go through the plays and say maybe he has 6 plays in that period. He ran the first play 3 to 4 minutes ago, and he can go through exactly what he saw. His recall's uncanny. It's cool.
All set? Thanks, Coach.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
What do you think you know about North Carolina's offense without Drake May?
That's the biggest question is, the quarterback situation. We'll be prepared for multiple guys, figure out who the quarterback is, and then the offensive line situation. They lost a lot of reps there, but they got some really good players up front, and we got to be ready to adapt and be ready for what they throw at us with that offensive line and quarterback. But they got a lot of really good players up front, or on the perimeter, the back. He's an electric player. He makes a lot of big plays, and we just got to be ready to contain them, control them up front.
Did you relish kind of the opportunity given what this rush defense was in Minnesota last year to go against somebody that is of high quality?
Yeah, that'll be the number one thing is, stop the run. We got to make sure we stop the run. We got to stay ahead of the sticks, and, we got to put our defense in favorable situations all day.
Who do you have as the playmakers on the back end of your defense right now? Talking linebacker, corner, safety.
I think we got a lot of guys that can make some plays, and, I think the way the defense is framed and positioned, I think we have a lot of guys that can step up and make plays in those roles. I'm excited about really both levels. Our back end has had a really good camp. I thought we came off a really good spring. Excited about what some of those guys have done, and then the linebacker group. We've had some guys step up, some guys play some different roles, and I'm excited really about everyone in the back seven. Especially on first, second down, and on third down, what some guys have stepped up and done.
I feel like you have a safety group that you can sort of mix and match based on the situation this year.
Yeah, we've had different guys in different roles, and each guy has different strengths and different traits, different abilities, and I think we're gonna put those guys in those situations, and I'm excited to see them play. I can't wait to get against a different color jersey. So, but I think we're excited what those guys are going to do. I think guys have really stepped up here in camp. Some guys have different situations where we weren't sure. We've tried to put them in different plays or different looks, and the way they've responded, we've been really excited about it as a staff.
What do you see in Max Johnson?
I think he's got a big arm. He has a lot of talent. He's got a lot of experience. He's started a lot of games, played a lot of really good football down in the SEC, and he's going to be a guy that we're going to have to the whole game plan. We're going to have to make it one-dimensional. We're going to have to stay ahead of the sticks. We can't let them dictate, to us the tempo and situational football. And, but he's, LSU, he made some really good throws, made some big-time plays. I think he's a really good athlete also. That part doesn't always get looked at that way. The way he does move, make some plays with his feet, and, he's a guy that we're going to have to contain and keep the ball in front of us.
What led to your change to switch sides of the ball as a early coach?
I think it was an opportunity, to kind of learn more. At that point, it's interesting. Like, you kind of get into it, and I almost feel like you're comfortable. You know the room, how to coach it, or you think you do. At least I did. And you go to the other side, and you completely throw everything out. For me, my first year, learning how to tackle, block destruction, they motion, the amount of different things that all of a sudden you need to react to on defense. And it helped me tremendously as a coach, and I think it's the best thing I ever did. I don't know if it was something at that time that I wanted to do, but it was something that tremendously helped me in my career.
Who would you say are your biggest influences as a coach? Who are your role models as you go to the defensive side to kind of model what you want your defense?
Well, I think right away, just people that have affected me as a coach or to get me into coaching. My high school coach, my high school history teacher is a coach. I took a lot from Coach Reno, and then the guys I've been with, Coach Haverty, where I played college football. Constantly spending time with me, talking football, learning the game, different situations, or trying to become a better player. And then, the guys I've worked for, I've been very lucky and very fortunate in my career, all the way starting at Kings to Springfield and all the development that you have in that program, being a GA, having your own room, being a position coach. And, I wasn't ready for a room at that point. You learn that kind of the hard way. And you learn a lot of football on the fly. And, but everywhere I've been, from the coordinators to the head coach, and then, people that have helped me, at every single stop, I think there's been a different influence everywhere. And I think, they've all helped in different ways.
What enables your defense to swarm effectively to the ball? What goes into that?
Every day we talk about ESV, and, we want our guys to fly around. We want excitement. We want our guys to love the game of football. We want them to walk in the building every day and love, embracing the new challenge. What are we doing today? And then we want to swarm. We want 11 hats to the ball. We want relentless defense on every single snap. And that's the way that we drill it in Indy. That's the way that we play in, every different period of practice. And, that's what the expectation is. That's what the standard is for game day.
The amount of roster movement in college football, how do you go about preparing for a first game when you don't really know how the personnel will be used and featured? Is there a lot of contingency plans in place?
Yeah, that's the biggest question. I think, we got to go back and look all the way. What has Coach Lindsey done, where he's been, different spots, different style quarterbacks, different playmakers. How does he distribute the ball? They have a lot of talent on that offense, between the back, the tight ends, the wide receivers, how they're going to use the offensive linemen. Last year they did different things in different games, and they had a very experienced front to sometimes help them protection, sometimes help them in the run game. And, I think we just, we're going to take a big picture of, different ways they've attacked different defenses, different people, different styles, different things that he's done, whether it's been at North Carolina or different places. And, we got to kind of take a look at the full picture, and we'll be ready. And early in the game, I think we'll get a good idea of how they will attack us and, what their style for the day will be. And we just got to make sure we respond to that.
On the flip side, they may not know much about you and the Gophers as a mix. Can you use that to some advantage too and spring some timely things on them, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're going to stay within what the defense is. But, that's the one thing we got to let them try to figure out.
What type of progression have you seen from Maverick Baranowski?
Mav's been awesome. Coming back from last year and, the way he responded in spring football and the way he competes every day. I love the way he competes. I love the way he attacks the ball. His physical style of play, he leverages the ball really well. He's, got really good block destruction, plays with good pad level, and just, he loves football. Every day he's in there. He wants to know more, wants to learn, wants to get better, playing multiple positions. And, he's a guy that, that's why we love what we do. And really the defense here, that's one thing, I love about the family here is we get guys that love football. Every day you want to show up, you want to continue to attack, continue to get better. And, he's one of the guys that help, set the temperature every day for the room.
How much do you feel like you can put on Cody, given his amount of experience?
Yeah, he's a guy, he's one of the smarter football players I've been around. Just situational football, being able to handle checks, being able to handle different things in situations. He plays fast. He really sees the game well. I think it's moving pretty slow for him right now. And, he's a guy that we trust. We're going to put him in some good spots. But as a defense, we got to make sure all 11 hats, they're playing fast. They're playing physical. We want to get to the ball, and we just got to make sure all 11 guys are on the same page. Whatever the look is they give us, or whatever the defense is that we make a call for.
Coach, not to name names or schools, but is there a significant difference in your business in the ability of coaches to adjust in games? Do you kind of see that through your career and going up in competition?
Yeah, I think everywhere you got to be able to, I think football's football. I think there's really good coaches everywhere, and I think they're going to come out, they'll have a plan, and, we got to make sure we can adjust depending what, who the quarterback is, who the offensive line is, which back's in the game, where the wide receivers are, what personnel it is. And, I think we'll have a good plan for it, and we got to make sure at some point we'll have to adjust. At some point they'll have to adjust, and I think we'll be ready for that. And, that's the part that we love, and that's why we do it. So I'm excited for it.
You see a lot of difference, so some are better in making adjustments than others.
Yeah, I think everyone handles it differently. Everyone has a different plan for how they attack it, and we'll have to find out exactly what theirs is.
Other than the final score, is there any stat that stands out to you that is most important for your defense?
Yeah, we want to stop the run. We want to stop the run. We want to try to make them one-dimensional. We gotta. It's going to be all about the ball. We got to try to create takeaways. We talk about being obsessed with the ball, and then we got to stay ahead of the sticks on third down. If we can win third down situations, create takeaways, and then the last thing that we always talk about here is our 78% is going to be eliminating big plays.
There's been a lot of talk about the versatility where you can move guys around and have packages and sub packages. Is there a challenge to try not to do too much because there's maybe so many pieces you can move around that you could get too thin or too spread out in terms of trying to excel at everything? How do you walk that line?
Yeah, we try to teach our guys techniques and fundamentals. We want to be technique sound. We want to be fundamentally sound. And, we don't want to put too much on any specific player. We want to give them those techniques, give them those fundamentals, and let them go play fast within the system. And, it might be a guy playing multiple linebacker spots or a guy playing multiple safety spots or moving around the defensive line, but we're not going to do a ton. It's the same fundamentals, the same techniques that they're going to be playing. And I think that allows our guys to be a little bit positionless. Gives our guys some versatility, and it's going to let us be sound as a defense. But the number one thing is going to be the speed that we play at. We want to be a physical, fast football team. And I think the biggest thing for that is we got to make sure we let our guys play.
With him, what have you seen in Jaw, and what sort of kind of season do you think he can have with his skill set?
Yeah, really, I think he's from spring football to fall camp. I think he's really matured. I think he's really grown. I'm excited about the way he's been practicing. He first, second down right now. He's been very strong at the point of attack. His technique, his pad level. We've been really excited about how he's been playing, and really the D-line in general. You watch that group right now, we've taken big steps really since that first spring practice to, this morning. We've taken a lot of big steps. We've had a lot of big strides just with the technique that they play, taking a man on block, taking a man away block, their progression, their pad level, how physical they're playing. And Jazz, a guy that, I think he's really come out and helped set the standard every day, and we've talked about, obviously D linemen want to rush the quarterback. We got to make sure we get to stop the run. And that's one thing that the emphasis has been on, really since day one of spring football. And that's something that I think we've continued to improve at every day as we attack it.
Corey, how much progress have you noticed from the corner room as a whole throughout camp?
That's a room I think, I'm really excited about what we've done. Wally has really done a great job setting it. Ethan, Z, Ryland, there's a lot of guys in that room. Our young guys have really stepped up. The way we compete in one-on-ones, the way that we challenge throws, that's a group that competes in everything they do. And we've been really excited how they've responded from different situations, how hard they play, how fast they play, you know, in both the run game and the pass game. The other day we had an awesome block destruction rep, you know, where one of the corners, you know, tears off from a wide receiver and puts his face on the ball. And, you know, I thought it was an awesome rep of just setting the temperature for the day. You know, it was early in one of the periods, and, you know, that's kind of, you know, what the expectation is, what the standard is from that room right now. And, you know, I've been every day, you know, Coach Monroe does a great job with that group. And, you know, I love watching, like, when you go in their meetings, they're always like, you know, a ton of energy and excitement. And, you know, I think that's the way they attack the field every day.